Hello, everybody. We have had some breaking news in this Easter break. Red Bull have announced that GianPiero Lambiase, Max Verstappen's engineer, is going to be leaving after his contract ends at the end of 2027. Now, McLaren have announced that he will be joining their team after this, reporting to Andreas Stella, and he's going to continue as Max's race engineer while he remains at Red Bull until his contract ends in 2027. I'm joined today by lead commentator Alex Jacques. Alex, this is a big surprise, isn't it?
It's a massive surprise for a couple of reasons. The bond between GP and Max is famous. It's a decade long, over a decade long now, which is an extraordinarily long time for a race engineer to have with a driver, but also the timing of it coming in the unexpected break, and also the fact we're talking about 2028, Betty. It's an incredibly unusual situation for Formula One.
I mean, 2028. It's a very long time away, Alex. Anything can happen in that time. But look, GP is the latest in a string of high-profile engineering talent, isn't he, to leave Red Bull? How much of an issue is this for Red Bull as a team?
There's been a sea change, hasn't there? They have gone through a lot of tumult in recent times. I mean, to lose, this would be the third hugely talented individual moving from Red Bull to McLaren. You had Rob Marshall move, and he was there for a very, very long time. So that was a key acquisition as McLaren made some changes personnel-wise after getting it wrong at the start of a regulation set. So Rob Marshall was brought in, started 2024. All the updates since he's been in that position have worked straight out of the box. So it's massive for Rob Marshall. Red Bull then lost Will Courtney, who was the head of race strategy. He became their sporting director in January of this year. And now the announcement today that GP, such a well-known figure, and figures like that, Betty, they're the cultural identifiers of each team. They give the team the heart, and another one going from a big hitting team to another rival. That is a huge moment again. Also worth saying, and everyone will remember this, but Red Bull have also lost Adrian Newey. They've also lost Jonathan Wheatley, and of course their former CEO and team principal Christian Horner. So the core DNA of Red Bull as we know it has fragmented.
When you say it like that these big names are like the heart of the team, it just sounds massive. How big is this going to be when it comes to sort of morale? How big of a blow is this going to be for Red Bull, do you think?
It's a fascinating one, because in certain departments, you're always going to have strength and depth. I mean, how wonderful to have someone like Hannah Schmitz ready to go as a new head of strategy. In other departments, if you look at the prospect, and we don't know this is going to happen, but the idea of Max having anyone else in his ear has been unusual when it's been on a race-by-race basis. But that's an astoundingly strong bond. Some departments have strength and depth, some don't. But the people that we've talked about in the last couple of minutes were at the head of their game. Red Bull for a very, very long time was a perform or find the exit kind of team. So for everyone to be with the team, I think it's the longevity as well. We're not talking about people who've been there for a couple of years and then skip from team to team to team. These are long-term Red Bull employees who McLaren have managed to prize away. 3 of them and 2 other big names have gone elsewhere.
You've spoken a bit about GP's relationship with Max. With that in mind, what do you think how do you think this could impact Max's future at Red Bull? Because he hasn't hidden the fact that he's, not very happy this season at all.
Well, it's another brick out of the wall. Let's be honest. Max is not hiding his feelings. We're not getting briefings to certain journalists, and we're not getting hints or rumors. He's saying on the record, down the barrel of the lens, that he's not particularly happy with the situation at the moment. There was a very public courting of his signature last year from Toto Wolff. And now you've got the guy that he is closest to in the Red Bull setup. Remember when Helmut Marko, who was also gone, by the way, we didn't include Helmut Marko, but obviously one of the main architects of the Red Bull project from its very early days in setting the team up in 2004 and going racing for the first time in 2005. You've got a situation whereby GP finds himself as as a massive, massive cog in this machine. And now Red Bull find themselves with a complete turnover of personnel. So it's a very, very unusual situation for any Formula One team to be in, because essentially the dream team that they built for a long time, many year employees, has now fragmented all the way down to race engineering level. And it's worth saying that he wasn't just Max's engineer, very important role that was. He's also the head of all race engineering at Red Bull, and now he's gone. So it's been a brick by brick process. What it says about Max Verstappen is Max defended Helmut Marko when it looked like Helmut Marko might leave. He said that he wouldn't go racing with anyone else other than GP. The people that he's closest to in the team are gone. He's openly on the record saying that he's not very happy with the state of play in certain aspects at the moment. And so as a result, it's all going in one direction. And it's not a direction that Red Bull management will be pleased to see, because all the signs are pointing to him not being in the car for 2028. Because if this is the guy that he's built this incredible relationship with, it's looking like changes afoot for Max Verstappen.
It is difficult times indeed, isn't it, for Red Bull? They haven't had the best start to the season anyway, and now this news is certainly going to be rock. That is for sure. Just quickly before we turn our attention to McLaren, because we've got to talk about, you know, how big of a signing this is for McLaren. Laurent Mekies, how big of a job do you think he's got on his hands now?
You can see it one of two ways. There's nothing Laurent can do about the situation. He's got an amazing opportunity to lead the Red Bull team, one of the big hitters in Formula One, and the people who've made it a big hitting team, a world championship winning team, have left and sought other opportunities. And on the whole, they've sought a higher opportunity. So it's tiny details in the title, but when he joins McLaren, he'll be Chief Racing Officer, which is a title that is currently done and the duties done by Andrea Stella. So that is McLaren adding more firepower. So the opportunity for Mekies, Laurent Mekies, is that he finds himself with the big hitters gone, but in that there's an opportunity to mold the team in his image. And I think every CEO and team principal wants their people. They want good people, but ultimately, if you're going to create a culture, if you're going to create your identity on the team, and we've talked about the identity of the team effectively dissipating with the loss of these characters, it gives him an opportunity to remake the team. The problem is that he's lost expertise and the reason that they won titles.
Let's talk about McLaren then. How impressive is this signing from a McLaren point of view, Alex?
I think what's interesting, Betty, about this is McLaren had absolutely no need to go and sign an engineer as good as GP. You're always looking to improve, but that is another outstanding world-class Formula One operator in a team that's already full of them. I'm intrigued how that news would have landed in other, parts of the race team, because there's obviously people who would have aspired for that job who are already in the organization. If you take Tom Stallard, for example, Oscar Piastri's race engineer, he has been there for a very, very long time. GP is a great signing. It is a statement of intent to already be double world champions, this time with the driver's title as well as the constructors, to be improving as we have seen them do in the opening few races of the year, and then go and sign one of the best engineers in Formula One. It just shows you that their ambition isn't satisfied with a couple of titles. They want this year in, year out.
Yeah, McLaren showing that they're ridiculously ambitious. They want to build on all of that, right? And they must be sure that sort of, I don't know, his personality will fit in within that McLaren family, that they'll all fit together. They must be pretty confident in that fact, I imagine.
Everyone involved is a pro, for example, but I think if everyone applies it to their offices, for example, it's an interesting thing that Red Bull have found so many people going there, and McLaren have been winning races for a while, have been competing for titles for a while, and they're still feeling the need to bring in proven firepower in certain roles in the organization. So bold stuff. from Andrea Stella and Zach Brown, and they continue to operate on the front foot. And it just shows you disrupt a team by getting one person, and then suddenly everyone is aware that other opportunities exist. And before you know it, blink of an eye, the Red Bull machine is completely different, and they've got completely different people at the top. For McLaren, yeah, downright greedy, and you can understand why, because they're in a great run of form. When it comes to the last, say, 5 years, maybe not like race by race at the moment, but how they have changed that organization in the last 5 years has been very impressive, and it's because of moves like this.
Ridiculously impressive, isn't it? Do you think, I've got to ask you, that maybe they've done it to cover off the possibility of Andrea Stella leaving?
I think people are putting two and two together there. I know quite a lot of the Italian press were alerted to possibility of Andrea Stella being on the market. McLaren are at pains to point out that is not the case. They have built something with him. They put a lot of faith in him when Seidel left, and he has delivered and then some. And again, it goes back to culture. He has a certain way of operating. He has a way of doing business. It's not win at all costs. He spoke really eloquently on Championship Decider Day about lines that would not be crossed to win titles. And that all comes from the top. That feeds down to everyone in the organization. And so you talk about the sort of character that they've brought in with GP, but I don't. I was going to say, isn't it a great option to have in case anyone makes a big money offer for Andrea Stella? But let's be honest, it would have to be sizable. It would have to be a job that he coveted. I think there's very few jobs other than leading McLaren that any team principal wants in Formula One. So yeah, McLaren though, strengthening an already world championship organization.
Well, Alex, we'll see. Anything can happen in Formula One, can't it? Anything. We're waiting for the big breaking news story at any time. That's particularly over this Easter.
I mean, that's the way it works, isn't it? We always seem to do these when we think that, okay, there's a break now. Of course, this was speculated upon with GP at the end of last year. And there were some teams mentioned, none of which has been the one that he's signed for. So the possibility of GP leaving, not a shock, but the fact he's gone to McLaren as well, and the fact it's stated as 2028, we're going to see Formula One races where GP and Max are not, as it stands, going to be in the same organization. That's going to be very, very strange to hear.
Very strange, very interesting. And I think it will be very interesting to see how Red Bull bounce back from this in Miami. And that is when our next race is, everybody. So thank you very much for watching this. Thank you, Alex, for joining me to chat all of this through. And we will see you guys in Miami. Enjoy the break until then, though.